What got you interested in swimming when you were younger?
Well, so I live in Walnut Creek, and so Contra Costa County, and I feel like California in general, swimming is just sort of a big sport and has a big presence. Um, the summer swimming community in Contra Costa County is huge, and so pretty much everyone I knew growing up did summer swim team at some point. That's how I got started and interested in swimming. I swam for my local summer swim club, Branch San Miguel Polar Bears, and I just kind of fell in love with the sport.
Now, later on into high school, you recruited and chose UCLA to continue swimming. Why did you decide to swim at UCLA?
Well, I kind of always pictured myself swimming at either UCLA or Cal. And there was this big meet I attended in high school where a lot of different swimmers, like whether it be professional or college swimmers, attended the meet. And I saw the UCLA swim team on deck, and I saw just kind of how they interacted with one another on the pool deck. And like, I just saw their caps and swim caps that said UCLA, and it kind of just inspired me and made me really want to look at UCLA as an option. And then I ended up touring the school with my mom, meeting the coaches, meeting the teammates. They were all super friendly and nice. And I kind of just, I don't know, I realized like that was where I wanted to be. And I just think it's like the perfect fit for me.
When it came to the process of recruiting, what is the process that a high school swimmer had to go through? I guess, what did you have to go through being recruited?
So one, I'll say a lot of hard work in the pool. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but swimming, you oftentimes have double practices. So 3 to 4 days a week, I would be waking up around 5 a.m. before school and either going to the gym and lifting weights or going and jumping in the freezing cold pool. And then right after school, 3:30 to 5:45 was my practice time. I would be in the pool again. So a lot of hard work in the pool, but as well as that, you asked about the recruiting process, right?
Yes.
Right. Maintaining grades is important, but then for the actual like recruiting process itself, just reaching out to coaches and getting your name out there and setting up interviews over the phone, asking questions, and basically just getting your name into their head so that they invite you on an official recruit trip when you're a senior in high school.
What did you enjoy the most about recruiting, and what do you think was the toughest part about the recruiting process?
The toughest part about the recruiting process, I would say it's just really nerve-wracking, and it can be really stressful because you're not sure if you're good enough for a program or whatnot. But when I was feeling that way, my dad would always say, like, why not email the Stanford coach or whatever? Like, who cares if you're not good enough? Let them reject you. So that's kind of what I did. And then it was really enjoyable to be able to talk to all of these different coaches around the country from like exceptional universities and just know that I might have the opportunity to swim at one of those programs. I would say it's definitely a unique process, but it also can be very stressful.
Well, overall, about 2% of high school athletes play a D1 sport. How does it feel to be in that small percentage?
Well, I wouldn't say I really looked at it as like the 2%. Like I actually didn't know it was so low. I think it was more just sort of amazing for me to think about the fact that I had the opportunity to reach out to schools in a different way and really help use my swimming to get me into some of these amazing universities.
How did it feel to represent a college and program in a sport you love and been involved with for years?
It was an amazing opportunity to be able to do that. and it's really a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I'm really fortunate to have been able to experience.
What was the biggest difference from the high school swimming scene to jumping into the college swimming scene?
Yeah, high school to college, definitely a lot more intense. I knew I was getting myself into definitely a more intense program. I also came from sort of a little bit less of an intense club swimming program, which I think was actually good because a lot of times swimmers who come from super intense programs as teenagers into college sort of burn out and don't enjoy the sport as much. And although I'm not still swimming because of different reasons, I definitely wasn't burnt out. But yes, the intensity level of college is crazy because it's like 20 hours of training on top of being a full-time student and just managing both things.
Now, more of a basic question, being a college athlete yourself, were you placed in a normal dorm or were you placed in one of the athletic dorms?
So I was lucky. We don't have athletic dorms at UCLA, and I think the NCAA actually prohibits athletic dorms because it goes against the NCAA policy. But I was placed in a normal dorm building, and my coach would pair up the incoming freshman swimmers with other incoming women's athletes. So I actually ended up being paired with a girl on my swim team who was also a freshman. And there's little perks like most freshmen have a triple dorm room and have a communal bathroom. I was lucky enough to have a double dorm room with a bathroom. Sort of a luxury.
Well, do you believe it was tougher or easier to adapt to college as being a college athlete compared to being a normal freshman?
I think it was hard in the sense that it's so different going from being on like a club swim team to the intense college level. But I think mentally I was so prepared for that because I was just looking forward to swimming for UCLA. So much like my last year of high school and the summer leading up. But I think that the nice thing about athletics and swimming is you automatically have a group of friends, which other incoming freshmen who maybe aren't yet involved in like clubs or things like that don't necessarily have. So I automatically had a group of girls that I knew I could count on. So in that sense, it made it easier. And then there's also a lot of academic resources that I'm lucky to have had.
Well, although you stayed in state, what was the toughest part about going down to UCLA?
The toughest part was definitely, I think, at first for me, or sort of after the initial few months of like just beginning college, like excitement. LA is so close yet so far in a sense that, you know, it's scary to be away from home for the first time and sort of just missing my family and getting a little homesick sometimes. But other than that, it is in California. LA is definitely different than Northern California, but I think for me, mostly it was just maybe missing home.
What opportunities did UCLA give you and athletes that possibly not every UCLA student had?
Yes, UCLA definitely gives athletes a lot of different opportunities and sort of there's the perks of being an athlete. So one of the perks is like, you know, priority housing or priority enrollment for classes, you know, free food at the athletic center. But I also think all of those things do play a huge role in making sure that athletes have what they need to be successful in their sport and in school because you are on such a busy schedule. So yeah, basically just UCLA and most schools give athletes resources that they know they might need because we're so busy, I guess.
Do you believe UCLA or other colleges possibly struggle with helping their college athletes? And if so, how?
Um, I think that it depends on the school. So UCLA is in the Pac-12, and I feel like schools like Pac-12 or Big Ten, or in those sort of conferences where sports are a big deal, compared to say like schools where sports maybe aren't as big of a deal. It just kind of comes down to like the money that they have to fund athletic programs. So I guess in a sense I was lucky to have swam for UCLA because the Pac-12 has there's a lot of like influence in that sense, in that UCLA is in the Pac-12 conference, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What was the normal day for you as a college swimmer?
So the normal day for me as a college swimmer, set my alarm, wake up at 5:20, get ready. My roommates and I, because I roomed with swimmers, would walk to either the pool or weights, depending if we had weights or swimming first. And it would usually be 2 to 3 hours of swimming and weights in the morning. And then I would usually have about 30 minutes to squeeze in a breakfast. And then after that, kind of class the whole day. Maybe if I was lucky, I would have time to go back to my dorm room and nap in between, and get lunch. But if not, it was just a full day of classes and doing homework, and then afternoon practice for 2 hours. And then usually after afternoon practice, I would have dinner or tutoring sessions or just be doing homework, things like that. So a very compact and busy day.
Well, what do you believe made a collegiate swimmer different than a collegiate football player or basketball player?
I just think the experience each sport has a different experience. So I don't know, different schedules, I would say, definitely impact that. Being a swimmer, swimming is like a year-round sport. And what I mean by that is, like, swimmers have to train year-round. There isn't really like the concept of an off-season. Swimming's like a really unique sport in the sense that it sounds weird to people who aren't swimmers, but in swimming you have a feel for the water, and that feel for the water can go away really easily if you don't train. So it's hard in the sense that swimming is really year-round and you have to train all the time, whereas I think a lot of dry land sports or land sports, you don't have to train as much and as intensely all the time.
How were you able to balance your classes, swimming, and extracurricular activities at UCLA on such a compact schedule?
I think from a young age, because I was used to doing double practices in high school and having big meets on the weekends that sometimes would take up both like Saturday and Sunday, or travel meets where I would have to miss school for 5 days, I really had to learn how to manage my time effectively. So time management is definitely a big skill that you'll learn through doing sports, or just especially swimming, because there's so much training involved.
Were you ever worried or stressed about your time management or anything along that aspect?
For sure, especially during like finals week of college, I think it gets stressful because you don't want to miss practice, but you also want to have enough time to like study for finals and get good grades, because that's also really important. So yeah, no, I totally get stressed out and things like that, even with trying to manage my time. But yeah, no, it definitely hit me like finals week in college, especially because that's such a crunch time.
Well, looking back to what you would go through for a normal day, describe how you or your team prepared on the day of a duel or a meet.
So it depends on the time of the meet. If it was a morning meet, a meet in the morning versus like an afternoon or afternoon meet or meet later in the day. If it was a morning meet, we would usually have an early wake up call and sort of an early, easy 30-minute swim to warm our bodies up and get ready for the meet. And then we would have like some sort of a team breakfast, do sort of a dynamic dry land warm up where we stretch and get our heart rates up and get our bodies moving and flowing. And then we would do a warm up in the pool and do a team cheer and have the meet. And if it wasn't a morning meet, it pretty much would be the same thing minus the like team breakfast.
How has being a college athlete helped make you a better person?
Being a college athlete, I think, has made me a better person in the sense that I've learned how to, besides just with swimming, with a lot of things in life, I've learned how to trust the process and enjoy the process of just doing different things in life, whether that be with school, with working on myself, or with swimming. And I think that's really important.
What has college sports or sports in general taught you about life overall?
I think going back to the last question, just one of the main things sports has taught me, because especially swimming, it's such a hard sport mentally. I've definitely learned how to be mentally tough, manage my time, be disciplined, and really enjoy the process and trust the process besides just swimming.
Now, when it comes to your college teammates and coaches, describe that bond that you had and why it might be different compared to when you were doing a summer team or compared to your high school team.
I actually think the bonds that I have made in the past with just people on my teams, they're similar in the sense that it's like you're waking up together at 5 a.m. to go jump in that cold pool and doing really hard workouts and things like that. So you're sort of enduring like the pain and the toughness of the sport together. And I think that really does help create a bond. I think it's different in college because, you know, it's a different team and things about college are different. Like you're going through also learning how to be independent and live without your parents for the first time and sort of things like that.
Now, did you ever enjoy traveling to other campuses and colleges, and why or why not?
Yeah, I think that's the most exciting part. It's really fun to get to see other campuses and other schools. Yeah, the travel aspect is definitely really fun. One of my favorite memories is we would blast music on the bus ride as a team and just sort of like sing along and dance and stuff. So that's like one of the best experiences.
Now, I gotta ask, impromptu question, what is the go-to song?
The go-to song. Do you think I'm going to say UCLA?
Oh, I know that song.
Not that song. I don't know if there's really a go-to song. We definitely like that song though.
Okay, I just had to ask.
I know. I knew it was coming.
Well, although you don't swim for UCLA anymore, do you plan to help coach or compete individually?
Yeah. I don't know if I'll compete individually for a while. I think I kind of want to take a break from swimming and sort of do like a mental reset, if that makes sense, and enjoy sort of other things for the time being. So I don't know if I'll ever compete again. I'll definitely swim again. And yeah, I've actually posted on our neighborhood website about doing like swim lessons. So yeah, I'm open to teaching swim lessons and coaching and doing things like that.
Now, although this is the bigger picture and might not affect you as much, how do you feel about college athletes being paid?
I personally don't agree with college athletes being paid. I think that when you're in college, I just think it takes away from the fact that college is about more than just athletics. Like I think college really helps athletes learn how to balance like sports and academics. And I think I'm a strong believer in the fact that you go to college for academics, and athletics is a priority, but academics is the main priority. And I just worry that paying athletes sort of takes away from the fact that you go to college to get a degree. And I also think it takes away from like the amateur status that I think college athletes should have. I just think over time with college athletics, it's gotten so intense and so serious in a way that could maybe be unhealthy. So I know I'm in like the minority when I say that I don't think athletes should be paid, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I'm glad you speak out and say your own opinion.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that.
Yeah.
But we're in a pandemic right now, and unfortunately, how do you believe college sports and/or swimming will change after this?
I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of news about budget cuts and things like that, which definitely would be really, upsetting, losing coaches, or hopefully, coaches don't have to cut teams and things like that. I think there will be a lot less funding for things. But I also think sometimes there's so much money given in athletics to various teams for things that I think it'll be good in the sense that people will have to be a lot more conscious about where they really need to put the money that they're given into to support the team. But I also think, besides just financially, I think that I've seen, especially besides just college sports and sports in general, there's been a sense of unity, especially like online. I feel like people have come together more, and I hope to see that with teams in general. Just sort of a sense of unity, and I guess a different bond in a sense. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, final question. What did you love the most about being a collegiate athlete and a collegiate swimmer?
I don't think there's quite any experience like it. It's definitely a really special experience that I will always remember and always just, appreciate the fact that I was able to experience that. It's definitely like a one in a lifetime kind of opportunity. And I'm so happy that I was able to experience what it's like to be a Division I athlete. It's a really cool experience.
Well, thank you for your time, Emma, and stay safe during these times.
Thank you.